In early September 2025, a Tesla registered to the singer David was found in a Los Angeles community. Inside was the body of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, a missing teenager whose disappearance had haunted her community for nearly a year. Within hours, the internet turned into a courtroom. TikTok feeds filled with theories. Reddit threads exploded, and people who'd never met either of them suddenly claimed they knew exactly what happened. Police raids, canceled tour dates, brand deals gone overnight. But here's the question almost no one is asking. What if David didn't do it? Tonight we're breaking down the timeline, the evidence, the rumors, and the holes in the story and why. Despite everything, you might not want to write David off just yet. On September 8, 2025, Los Angeles police responded to reports of a foul odor coming from a towed Tesla. When officers opened the trunk, they found human remains that later tested positive as Celeste Hernandez. The car's registration led back to 19-year-old David Burke, better known to the world as a breakout artist whose moody bedroom tracks had dominated streaming playlists. Within minutes of the news breaking, hashtags like #JusticeCeleste and #DavidExposed trended worldwide. Fans felt betrayed, critics declared his career finished, and headlines blurred speculation with fact. Yet through all the chaos, one detail stood out: no arrests had been made. A body found in a car does not automatically prove who put it there, and so far, authorities have never named David as an official suspect. Still, the internet rarely waits for paperwork. It needs villains, and David became one overnight. A few days later, LAPD executed a search warrant at a Hollywood Hills residence where David had reportedly been staying. Video showed unmarked cars, evidence boxes, and detectives entering the home. Social media instantly labeled it a raid, and in the public mind, raid equals guilt. But in real investigations, that isn't how it works. A search warrant simply means police want to gather evidence, not that they've proven someone did anything wrong. According to ABC News, investigators seized electronics and documents but made no arrests. David's legal team confirmed he was cooperating fully and had spoken voluntarily with detectives. Think about that. If you were guilty, would you invite police in and hand over your devices? The latter, people shouted online. The quieter David became no cryptic tweets, no disappearing act, no meltdown. Just silence. Sometimes silence isn't guilt, sometimes it's strategy. For the detail that could change everything: the car itself. Reports indicate the Tesla had been impounded before its discovery. That means for days, possibly weeks, it was sitting in a tow yard under someone else's control. If the vehicle was towed before the body was placed inside, the implications are massive. Who had access to yard employees, mechanics, anyone with a duplicate key? Police have not publicly confirmed the timeline between when the car was last in David's possession and when it entered impound. Until that gap is explained, the entire case remains a puzzle missing its centerpiece. Online commentators love certainty, but real investigations thrive on doubt. Right now, we don't know when the body entered the car, who drove it last, or where David even was during that window. Without those answers, saying he's guilty is like solving a jigsaw with half the pieces gone. Here's where the rumors took control. TikTok users began linking Celeste and David romantically. They pointed to supposed matching tattoos that read shame, and circulated screenshots showing Celeste calling him David in messages. But none of those screenshots have been verified by investigators. Many were traced back to anonymous accounts using AI-generated images. And the race for clout: creators spliced together voice notes, filtered photos, even deepfake DMs to make the story fit a narrative. Think about that: a 15-year-old girl is gone, and strangers are editing fake evidence reviews. There's no confirmed record proving the two ever met in person. Until verified communication logs surface, everything else is noise, loud, damaging noise. And once that noise spreads, it's almost impossible to undo. One rumor becomes a headline, one headline becomes a reputation. That's the reality David is facing. Timing matters. This entire story erupted right after David announced in the USA tour an upcoming collaboration with another artist. Within 48 hours, every date was cancelled. From a business standpoint, that's millions lost instantly. Was it coincidence? Maybe. But some fans believe the timing is perfect, a career-ending controversy hitting just as his momentum peaked. Of course, correlation isn't conspiracy. It might simply be a tragic event intersecting with fame. Yet history shows that when someone's rise feels too fast, the world often looks for a reason to bring them back down, whether by accident or design. The fallout was total. Collaborators pulled songs, sponsorships vanished, and streaming numbers froze in place. Here's the thing about stories like this: once the internet decides who's guilty, it almost never goes back. Screenshots become evidence, tweets become testimony. And before a single charge is filed, a person's entire life can be destroyed. We forget that investigations take time. Police reports don't come out in 24 hours. Autopsies don't conclude overnight. And sometimes the first version of the story isn't even close to the truth. Think about how many times the internet has been wrong before, how many names we've turned into villains before the facts were even known. Remember that these are real people, not just trending names or headlines. David has a family, fans, and a team that have all been silent while everyone else has been screaming. Maybe that silence isn't guilt. Maybe it's just shock. Because the truth is, even if David is completely innocent, this situation could still ruin him forever. Once your name is tied to something this dark, it doesn't just disappear. Even if the court clears you, the comment sections never do. And maybe that's the part we should all think about: how quick we are to throw stones when we don't even know what we're bringing. Now that the dust has settled a little, people have started piecing together their own theories, and some of them actually raise real questions. Could someone else have used the Tesla? That's possible. David isn't the only person who could have had access to it. Friends, assistants, even third-party staff could have borrowed or moved it. Then there's the idea of planted evidence. I know it sounds dramatic, but we've seen it before. High-profile names become lightning rods for blame. One wrong move, one misunderstanding, and suddenly everyone's sure they know what happened. Others believe it's all timing, that this blew up right as his career was peaking for a reason. Maybe coincidence. And then there's the hardest truth of all: sometimes tragedy doesn't have a clean answer. Sometimes the pieces never fit together. And all we're left with are questions that the internet tries to answer too fast. At the end of the day, we don't know what really happened, and pretending we do only hurts everyone involved. Because behind every headline, every hashtag, and every trending video, there's a person, a real human being living through a nightmare while the world comments from a distance. If David is guilty, the truth will come out. Evidence will speak louder than hashtags. But if he's innocent, the damage is already done. His name has been dragged through every corner of social media. And that stain, it never truly fades. Once your face becomes the thumbnail of a scandal, people stop seeing you as a person and start seeing you as a headline. That's the part nobody warns you about: how fast the world forgets that you're still human. This case isn't just about one singer, about how quick we are to believe the first post we see, how easily we trade facts for fury. We scroll, we judge, we share, and somewhere along the way, we forget that there are families on both sides of these screens. Maybe the real story isn't whether David is innocent or guilty. Maybe it's what happens when an audience becomes a jury, and a comment section becomes a courtroom. Rest in peace, Celeste. And for the rest of us, maybe it's time we learn to wait for the truth before we decide who the villain is.